Bamidbar. Parashat Bamidbar is the opening parasha of course, Sefer Bamidbar. I'll be honest with you, if you look at it this way, it's on the surface, it seems kind of boring. Be honest, because it really gives you all kind of like statistics, dry statistic facts that has to do with Am Yisrael. And the parasha opens with the words, "Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe," and God spoke to Moses, "Seu et kol rosh adat bnei Yisrael lemishpechotam, lebefarutam b'mispar shemot." Count the people. It tells us how to count the people. Kol zachar legulgelotam miben 20 shana v'mala. Any male from 20 years and up, you're going to count them. Kol yotzei tzava b'Yisrael. All those who are eligible to go to the army, tifkedu otam nitzivotam. You're going to count them, and so on and so forth. But why does the Kadosh Baruch Hu needs Moshe Rabbeinu to count Am Yisrael? What is it, like the statistic bureau, or some kind of like, I don't know, they're doing census, Well, God doesn't know how many people the Jews are, but what does he need to count them? It doesn't make sense. Of course, it does not make sense. And more than that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we know, is endless. Ein Sofi, he's endless, right? He's endless. So what does it really make a difference to HaKadosh Baruch Hu if Bnei Yisrael are this kind of number or that kind of number? I mean, for an entity that is endless, to have a number is kind of, again, seems pointless. So, if we're going to look at the Zohar, then we'll see that the Zohar explains that among, so on and so forth, when it says ki, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created mankind, as the Zohar says, bara oto betzurot elyonim vetachtonim. He included within him all the heaven and earth. And it says, ve'aya kalul mekulam, and everything was included within the concept that it's called Adam HaRishon, first man. In other words, Adam HaRishon, held within itself the whole creation. But of course, that was before the sin. Everything was included within him. And then there was the sin of eating from the tree. And that caused Adam HaRishon to fragment itself to thousands of millions of pieces, which in a way are us, or humanity from that point and on. And in a way, we're all parts of Adam HaRishon. That's what we are all called Bnei Adam. Human is a very nice concept, but Bnei Adam, the childs of Adam. That's how it's called in Hebrew. In other words, if we are all a part of one whole, so what is the point here also of dividing them into tribes? Shevet Levi, Shevet Yehuda, Shevet this one. Just say Am Yisrael, and what's the point of that? Why didn't Moshe Rabbeinu integrated all the tribes together immediately after coming out of Mitzrayim? He says, okay guys, right now you're going to be a nation, no more tribes. What? Moshe Rabbeinu, God forbid, but Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to divide and conquer. He could. That's not like what Moshe Rabbeinu did. That's what today, they do in politics all over the world. But that's how Moshe Rabbeinu did. Well, why didn't he do that? I mean, it's just I don't know about you, but I think it's a fantastic question. So why didn't he do that? Is there a secret that is hidden here? And of course, the secret is, as it comes up from this parasha, that every society, every community of humans has to be built from individuals. The individual is important. If you're going to look at societies that try to erase the individual, the societies is not last, and they turn up to be a society, made out of hell, as they say. Look at North Korea, look at all those communist countries where the individual was not an individual. You were not an individual. It was all sayuskaya, the state overall. There's no individual. And those parts of the communities, when we have the communities has to be also recognize the community within the community, and then the individual itself. Because you have to understand, only a collections of many particles could make one whole thing. The only thing in creation that is whole within itself, without any division, that's God. Everything else has to have many parts of it to create a whole. Now, if you're going to tell me, well, if I'm going to take a billet of, let's say, metal, or like a ball bearing, that's a solid thing. When you tell me parts of it, it's a whole thing. So that's on the surface. If you look inside, you're going to see the molecule structure, you see the atoms, you're going to see there is individual that makes a whole entire thing. Now, you might see where I'm going here, and so just brace yourself, because it's not going to be pleasant to many people to hear. But still, I'm going to say it. We have to live in a community. Especially as Jews. We have to live in a community, because you cannot provide yourself for all you need by yourself. You can't. Even the greatest mountain man, thank you. Even the greatest mountain men that live in the Rocky Mountains, during the fur trade, needed people, because otherwise, what he was doing there, they went into, so yes, he left alone. He was living alone for, the average mountain man for about, whatever months a year. But the whole thing was geared to go to the rendezvous down, to celebrate and to sell the trade, to sell the fur. You can't do it alone. You need people. Even if you decide, no, I don't need anybody, but you still, what do you need? You need a knife, you need an axe. Who's going to make it for you? You're going to make it from scratch? Good luck. So you need to understand that as humans, we need a community, we need a society, and as Jews even more so. That's why it's very important to where you're going to live your life, and which community you become a member. If that, and this is something that you need to look, is this community going to be able to provide you with your needs, with the tools you need to grow? And not every society is like this. If you are really committed to the Jewish way of thinking and so on and so forth, you're not going to determine the place you're going to live based on your house. Oh, there are big houses here, the taxes are low here, this and that. That's a mistake. You need to look at the community, first of all, knowing what are your needs, what are you looking to achieve, and is there as a community, you need to recognize that only through a community that is going to be vibrant enough to provide you that you'll be able to grow. Otherwise, you'll die. You'll get lost. Let's put it this way. You will get lost. And the only way for you one of the reasons for you to look for communities like that is that you could become a contributing part for the community. You need to contribute, so that only a community that was able to bring you up further would allow you also to contribute. If there is a community that, for example, let's talk about a setting of a shul, like a synagogue, right? And there are some synagogues like this, that would not allow you to do anything in a synagogue. There's a group of whatever, control freaks, that they do everything, good for them, but also very bad for them, because they don't allow anybody else to come in, and this is a sign for life. And a community like this, guess what? Pack your stuff and move out of there. Go to a different shul. Go to a shul that would allow you to do something, to contribute, and so on and so forth. Who wants to go to a shul that you can be a part of? This is very important. So, when you realize that you need to live in a community, one of the things you need to look at a community is the following. That community has to be well diverse. It has to be well diverse in a way that every one of them, every member of the community has a different talent and different job than his fellow Jew or his fellow neighbor. Years ago, when I wanted to move back to Israel, I was looking to move, I said, I'm such a wonderful person, so I'm going to go to an all Haredi community. Like, the typical American place, like Ramot Beit Shemesh, and so on and so forth. All these places, Elad, Melad, Hashmonaim, Maccabim, but then I realized that it's going to be wrong to be there, for me at least. Why? Because I am going to be very isolated without being able to reach out to my brothers and sisters who are not frum, and I'm not going to be able to contribute them to come closer to Am Yisrael, to come closer to Hashem. So what's the point? So after about, I would say 2-3 years of looking in those communities and just did not agree with me, I said, you know what? No, I'm going to look at a community that's going to be the most diverse. It needs to have the basic needs in terms of what. But I want secular people in my neighborhood. I'm not afraid of them. I love them. I want them near me. So we can talk, so we can have a conversation. Not that I'm going to look to put feeling on them every morning and go, okay, put feeling on. That's not. I just want them to change their mind about Judaism, about the Torah. Even if we're just able to make them less negative about it. I wanted my kids to live in a community that they're going to develop their strength, not out of fear, and then because ultimately they're going to become weak. So you need to look for a community that is very diverse, that would allow you to do that. Yet a community that would allow you to also grow and develop spiritually. So for example, if you want to move to Tel Aviv, good luck. Yeah, there are a lot of secular people in Tel Aviv. Yes, there's some fruit people here and there, some kollel of who knows what, whatever. But ultimately, you're going to get swallowed by Tel Aviv. And even if you're such a big tzaddik, you're going to sit all day long in your penthouse with a view to the ocean and learning Gemara over there. Still, you're not going to be able to contribute to anything. It's pointless for you to be there. And I'm going to dare to tell you the following. You're better off being in Florida, doing kiruv and helping people than to sit in isolation in Tel Aviv in your penthouse. Because you are a potential rescue team. You're a rescue team. And you need to be there to be able to help every Jew that needs to be helped. Can I get that cap? Yeah. You see, guys, boys and girls, you see, this is our logo. JSAR unit. This is the logo of the yeshiva, which means Jewish Search and Rescue Unit. So in other words, when you wear this, you commit yourself to first of all behave like a Ben Torah. Whoa, kohanenu. Second, you commit yourself, here, you see, very nice hat. Very nice hat. You commit yourself to help people and to serve as a cord that will come to you. That's how I view our role. So what's better for me? To be in Miami, reaching out to people, bringing people closer to each other and closer to the Torah and then closer to Hashem? Or for me to live in Bnei Brak somewhere and to be in isolation, not knowing about anything, throwing rocks at people and so on and so forth? I don't know about you, but I think listen, at least Miami has the beach, but no. But you know what I'm saying? What is this about? Is it about you feeling that you're such a great person, or rolling your sleeve, listen, it's all about Hashem? You look at all the Gedolim, even David HaMelech. David HaMelech was a king. And all he was doing was helping people, making psakim all day long about this woman is pure, she's not pure, and so on and so forth. David HaMelech needs to do that. Yes, because he's a melech. He needs to care of his people. And these are your people. Are you care about your people? Or are you just full of hot air? Why are you doing what you're doing? Don't move to places that are, on the north shore of Long Island because everybody else moved there. What is the community giving you there? Without mentioning names. But it rhymes with a great and they don't have a neck. What did people do there? Right? Over there the shackles get longer, the skirts get shorter.
Bar Minan.
Bar Minan, you better believe that.
Yeah, I've seen
How do you make your cheshbon? What are your Jewish criteria, your Jewish parameters in which you measure, should I move to this place, yes or no? Apparently they weren't there. But then again, you look at the community needs to be diverse. You should not go, because that's a bad community. And I'll show you, Bezrat Hashem, why is that. You see, the Zohar teaches us that the world was created that we are different from one another in order for us to rely and to need one another. That's why, because of that, we should be able to live in unity, and then we'll, by doing so, be able to become one. To become one. The problem is the people confuse unity with uniform. In Hebrew it's called achdut ve'achidut. Achdut means unity, achidut means uniform. Our need, or our strive of all of us, to a certain extent, is that everybody will be just like us. Not the whole entire world needs to be Jewish. By the way, that's why Judaism is not a missionary religion. There is room for everybody. In the word of Hashem, there's room for everybody. We want everybody to believe the same beliefs that we have, the same thoughts that we think, we want everybody to think so. Of course, because we are becoming very weak, and therefore we can't comprehend, we can't even deal with somebody else thinking different than us. And that becomes a problem. And this is the chidush, that's the new concept. We are different than one another because this is how we were born. And this is something that is good for us, and that's the right thing for us to be, to recognize the difference of that. You see the remish for that in the brachot. The more assorted the bracha, the more refined the bracha, the higher bracha. I could say on grapes she'akol. Right? I could say on grapes borei priya adama. I could say on grapes borei priya etz. But then I refine it, and then I say on a grape juice, I say what? Borei priya gefen. That's a superior bracha. So the recognition of the other as he is very important, even though he's different than me. He's a person just like me. He has the right to live just as much as I do. And not only is it good for us, it's good for humanity. It's good for a society. I mean, to have a straightforward society, everybody the same, it's a very dangerous thing. By the way, that's what the Nazis wanted to do. The Nazis wants to eliminate everybody that was different than them. Well, yes, they started with the gypsies and the Jews, because they were easy. But you think it would stop there? At the end, they will kill anybody who is not Johnny Blue Eyes. Or Kraut Blue Eyes, for that matter, you know. So, I mean, look at this. The more eyes you have looking at the same, at a certain things, right? Whatever it's a problem, or the more opinion, the more diverse the opinions would be. The more diverse the opinion will be, the better you have a chance to do the right thing. Rav Ashlag explains that in order for wisdom, pay attention, in order for wisdom, now if you wonder why this generation that is happening right now in the world is so dumb, well, you'll see it. It's very obvious according to the Zohar. So Rav Ashlag explained that in order for chokhmah, for wisdom to exist, you need to have a society. And wisdom comes from a discussion, from argument, and working things out. In other words, a non-totalitarian regime. You want an example of totalitarian regime? Go to North Korea. Go look at Nazi Germany. Go look at Soviet Union. A group of thugs run the place and everybody suffers. And that's a failed society. In Judaism, everybody says, oh yeah, 2 Jews, 4 opinions. Well, that's a great thing. Because this is how you come to the truth. You talk about this. The Gemara is full of arguments. So if you are a buffoon, you will say, oh, the rabbis cannot agree with himself. But if you're a wise man, he says, well, it's amazing. The argument is to actually come down with something that is really true. To come down to the bottom of the matter, to the truth. So to have discussion, to have different opinions, and to have discussion, it's a must in a healthy society. But when you shutting people's mouth, it becomes a sick society. And compromising and giving up or shutting up and so on and so forth, it's a guarantee for anger, for choke, either you choking other people or you feeling choked because you can't express anything. I mean, today you can't say anything, for crying out loud. It's terrible. Look at the society that we're coming in to be. It's exactly the opposite of what the Torah is trying to tell us in this parasha. In a society there's no discussion, in a society there's no disagreement, where people are afraid to say what they think and to stand on what they believe, there's not going to be any wisdom. In other words, stupidity is going to celebrate. And we are in a very stupid generation right now, or in a very stupid state of mind. We need to understand that giving expression to our opinions and to the opinions of others, let others express their opinions, by listening, by having compassion, is the key for our existence. Is the key for our existence. So when you try to make people, or you penalize people for viewing or stating a view that is different than yours, don't come and tell me that you want a better society, because you're not. You're actually destroying that society. So in order to start to understand the messages this parasha tells us, therefore we need to understand and recognize the importance of mankind in creation. A person needs to emulate God, right? It says, Mahu rachum afatar rachum, and so on and so forth. Chazal says, Have domelo, Mahu chanun afatar rachum, afatar chanun, and so on and so forth. It's Masachet Shabbat Daf.
Kuf Yud Aleph.
Kuf Lamed Gimel. Not bad. Give me a cigar later on. So Chazal tells us that as much as HaKadosh Baruch Hu creates worlds, Mechadesh b'tuvo b'chol yom ma'aseh bereshit, so is man is commanded to create new worlds himself. As much as HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Mechadesh ma'aseh bereshit, you also need to do the same thing. Well, there could be many ways. First of all, you should, when you create new souls, what are new souls? You're creating new Talmidim. You have to have Talmidim. You have to teach. As much as HaKadosh Baruch Hu taught us Torah, we need to teach other. And that's HaKadosh Baruch Hu is ma'ani bechinam afatem bechinam. Right? So you know that you need to teach. You need to be mechadesh Torah. You need to do each one to his abilities to come up with new ideas for the Torah. Walk yourself. Don't with a telephone or anything like this. Don't make mistakes on relying on digital. Become an analogic person in a digital world. Take a note, a small notebook like this with a pen. It's such beauty. People forgot how to write, for crying out loud. They need OTs to teach them how to hold a pen. Which is very, very sad, because today you have kids who are 18 years old already suffering from carpal tunnel syndrome like people at 80. You have a little thing in your pocket, have a pen, an idea comes to your head, write it down. Write it down. You have your chidushim. When you are mechadesh chidushim b'Torah, you are creating worlds. Worlds. So, you also, as a person, could create your own reality or renew your reality all the time. In other words, become different. Today become better than you were yesterday. So the reality changes. You change your reality. You were given God gave you an ability to create a new reality. I mean, no cow can do that, and no dolphin, however how flipper they are, cannot do that. Only man can do it. You can change reality. You can change your perspective in life, and all of a sudden your whole reality changes. As it says, "B'oraita yistakelu bara olama." Kadosh Baruch Hu looked at the Torah and created the world out of the Torah. So are you. Look at your Torah, write your chidushim down. There's not a problem. On the contrary, it's very good for you to do it. And every chidush that you make in the Torah is through learning, and so on and so forth. It's you're making a new reality in creation itself. You're creating things. So, but you need to understand that the Torah is what connects man to God. The Torah does that. Now, how do I do that? And now it tells you about who you're allowed to or not allowed to teach Torah. So when you do forge welding, let's say I want to make myself a Damascus, blade. Somebody gave me 2 Damascus blades the other day. My good friend Shlomo, also known as Captain, it's an amazing person. Gave me 2 Damascus blades. Beautiful stuff. But how do you make Damascus? You take different types of metals, and you stack them together. You weld them so they won't fall apart. You put them in the forge. You bring it to a very high temperature, 2600 degrees. And then by that you start applying pressure on it, and then you have a billet. It's called Damascus. You can do different designs and so on and so forth. However, what's the key to really make this process actually take place? Before you start the whole thing, you need to clean it. If you have any scales, any dirt on the metal which you're trying to forge weld together, it's not going to stick. Dirt, a little bit of grease, it needs to be immaculately clean. The cleaner the metals, the better they'll forge. That's why a person needs to be clean when he learns Torah. So if you learn in Torah and you're not feeling that you're connected to Hashem, you're not clean. Clean yourself up. על זה נאמר, Chazal says, אין מלמדים תורה אלא תלמיד שהוא הגון. On somebody who is בעל מידות. לא כל אחד, you can come and take the Torah, and the Torah itself is the names of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. לא כל הרוצה לבוא, will come and take Hashem's names. No, clean yourself. Clean yourself. You want to really weld yourself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You really want to live life the way you should. שיהיה רצונו, רצוני, that His will be my will. In other words, and we'll talk to this a little later. You want to do that? Clean yourself up first. Before you go into this design, and if it's 1095, it's an A1, or 1050, it's a spring steel, it's an 8. Before we go into this, clean the metal first. Clean yourself out. And then, of course, there is the fire and the pressure and the right things. And then you get a beautiful, beautiful steel. By the way, you should know, that I told you this before, Damascus steel has nothing to do with Damascus. It's really a take on different, process in which they developed somewhere in India, at the borders of India, Afghanistan, and Turkmenistan, those areas over there. It has nothing to do with Damascus. So if somebody tells you can't call it Damascus unless it's made in Damascus, you know right away he's a fool. Don't answer him, just walk away. I'm just as a side note. Another thing Chazal tells us, that in this partnership that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made with us, He gave us a higher credit than that He had, in a way, has in creation. Kadosh Baruch Hu created us a whole entire world, a beautiful world. But this is a world that you cannot really live in it. Elements, so on and so forth. It's very hard. So therefore, the real pleasure is when a person becomes a partner with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and then he does his job. When you do your job as a partner means that not the other partner does all the work, you need to do work as well. So, and because of that, because of that, or should I say before that, before you do that, you need to be in the desert. What's the desert? The desert, there's no house. There is nothing in the desert. You want to build a house, you got to break your own. You have to get your own materials, cut your own wood, make your own stones, make your own whatever it is. You need to do it yourself. And then when you do it, right? The real pleasure is that you did something that was your own. You call it your own. That's why never look out to handout. And that Chazal says, "Soneh matanot techeh." You hate gifts, you're going to have a life. Because if you live your life to get handouts, to get gifts all the time, guess what? Your life is not a life because you're only going to be miserable. You're not going to appreciate what you have. You want something, work for it. You don't have the money? Don't buy it. Save it. Don't spend it. So, of course, you need to acknowledge that all your koach, all your ability comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but in this division that man needs to do, or needs to emulate what HaKadosh Baruch Hu does, and that part, man's part is actually greater than the part of HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. And you should know the Parashat Bamidbar is always read before Shavuot. Always read before Shavuot, and of course, according to the Zohar, this is the greatest day in the history of mankind. Chag Shavuot, where we receive the Torah, is the greatest day in the history of mankind. Because then, from a place of complete separation between, God and men, and so on and so forth. I don't know how to use man and man. One human to another human. Right? Let's not get funky over here. Right? We reach a level of Vayichan Sham Israel neged ha'ar, and Israel as one entity settled down around the mountain as one person, which brought about, according to the Mekubalim, to this great revelation and to the whole revelation of Mount Sinai. The revelation of Mount Sinai was able to come in that magnitude because they were all there as one body, one heart, one love, one heart, right? Let's get the Torah and be all right. Yes, that's the original song, right? It's the original song. And in order to do so, what do we have to do? We have to go into the fire. We have to go into fire. We have to go into water. We have to go into the desert. And this is the fire, the water, the desert, is the process that which each and every one of us has to go. So when you learn Torah, you need to find that fire in you. Don't learn Torah like sitting back over there smoking a cigar and having a bourbon in your hand. This is not learning. You got to toil over the Torah. You want to have your cigar and bourbon, have it later, but not when you learn the Torah. You need to really work it out. You really need to break a sweat. Don't learn Torah out of leisure. And I had a friend who told me his greatest. He said to me one time, I was laughing. He said, "It's my greatest pleasure to learn Torah. I go to my room." I had two guys, I'll tell you one. Go to the room, I crank up the AC. I like the AC cold. I lit myself a cigar. I take myself some, nice red wine. And I sit back and I look at the Gemara. I said to him, instead of that, why don't you learn the Gemara? But that was his thing. Okay, whatever. No better than watching TV. I'll tell you this 100%. But you really need to toil. You need to kill you. Work with all your koach. With all your power, to the point that when you're done learning, you're tired. Now you know you did something. If you did something, you're not tired, you didn't do anything. And as I told you many times, as you saw it today, never feel sorry for yourself because your mind will quit before your body. Right? Don't say I'm tired. I can't do it. Because you're not tired. Because if you're going to tell me now, let's go, no, man, I'm tired. I say, okay, you know what? Let's go do some, I don't know, some bar hopping or something. Oh, yeah, sure, I'll be right there. But how come you're tired? Right? All the people that you job me every day over there in the bar, right? Every day the bar is packed. I said, you guys go to work, man. You don't want to, you don't want to go to sleep. They're in the bar, they're drinking like there's no tomorrow. Man, it must be thirsty. Probably have a problem with the diabetes. Everybody's drinking there all the time, right? Right or wrong?
All the time.
All the time. So, the Netivot Shalom says, and that's very important, in each and every one of us, there is an esh zara, a foreign fire of desires, which we need to take that and turn it into a fire of kedusha. Call it esh kodesh. And that esh kodesh is the itlahavut, the excitement of doing avodat Hashem. You cannot excel in avodat Hashem if you are not excited about it. Oh, I'm excited to do so. Let's say you have a bit, oh man, I'm excited to start this project. Well, I'm excited to put filling in the morning. I'm excited to come here and learn. And each and every one of us has the concept of water in it, right? The element of water in it, which is the root of all those wrong loves that we have. We love this, we love that, and so on and so forth. And then you need to take it and take all those loves that are in you and elevate it to the love of Hashem. Because that's the first mitzvah. Ve'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha. And the midbar, what's a midbar? Midbar is no man's land. The desert is a no man's land. And each and every one of us has that desert inside of him. This place that is without any boundaries, without any rules, your own personal Wild West at its worst. We all have that. We all have our little skeletons in the closet over there. And that we know what they are. It's not that allows us to do all those crazy things that we do. Everybody has it. But what do? You need to really restrain your animalistic being or power inside of you. You can dismiss it because that's what allows you to eat and to multiply and to so on and so forth. You need that beating heart inside of you. But instead of being the slave of your desire be your slave. In other words, they'll do what you want them to do. You don't do what they tell you to do. You need to put boundaries, and that's what I say. One of the things to do is to make a lot of talmidim. But in order to be talmidim, you need to learn. A lot of students. V'asu siag la Torah. You have to put boundaries. Do you have your own boundaries? Don't forget, we all have this desert inside of us. And we need only a person that is able to really cross through those three gates. The Torah would be given to him as a whole, incomplete. He's not going to get parts of it, he's going to get all of it. Because it says, B'shlosha dvarim nitna Torah, in three things the Torah was given. How? Be'esh, be'mayim, u'bamidbar. So you want to get your own Matan Torah? Well, here we go. Find your own three places inside of you, the three attributes inside of you, and roll your sleeve and get to work. Stop crying and go to work. In the world, it really means, it's very common to think that freedom is when you have an independent state and everybody does whatever they want. Right? We're talking about boundaries. Well, I'll tell you that's not freedom. That's what they sell you, but it's really not freedom, which is not correct also on top of that. Why? Because whether you like it or not, society will dictate to you how to live life. Yes, society is not going to give you a certain order. Well, today they call it political, Political correctness, yes, but, right? But and how? But slowly changing all the habits and all the gestures and so on and so forth that society tells you that's okay to do, that's not okay to do. You can't call a person, you can't call a person ma'am or Mrs. You have to go Ms. I don't know what that. Right? You can't say this, you can't say that, you can't say this, and guess what? We all comply with that. So don't tell me you're free. You're not free. You've been told you're free, but you're not free because somebody else thinks for you. And if a person is going to wear something that nobody else wears, right? Nobody wears, for example, I don't know, let's say you feel like wearing kilts. Right? You're a man, you're allowed to wear a kilt. You're going to wear a kilt, people would, or you want to, forget about kilts, you want to wear bell-bottom pants. Like they used to wear, like this. People look at you, man, what's the matter with you? Why are you wearing bell-bottom pants? Oh, because I like it. But it's not the style. Who cares? So society, and you look at yourself, how you used to dress, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or how people, and you see that you yourself changed without even knowing that you changed. Now the beauty of what we wear is like, hey, there's not a problem. I wear a white shirt, I wear black pants. That's it. I don't wear a white shirt with little flowers on it, and it says here, I don't know, whatever, and black pants with rips on. I mean, you gotta be a real moron to buy pants with holes in it. I gotta understand that. Take a perfectly nice pair of jeans and you're making holes in it. Like, what's wrong with you? I mean, be'emet, I think all the sechel, all the brains go through the holes in the jeans. It's crazy. I mean, you're buying ripped clothes? What's wrong with you? Seriously. But society will tell you that you'll find yourself complying with style. It's nuts. So you're not really free. You've been told you are. You're not really free. Right? If a few individuals in society will have some kind of madness inside of them, and they therefore will dictate the whole entire state or the whole entire country, their agenda and their lifestyle, because they want to be that the majority will be like them. Well, your difference will be different. But don't tell me that I should be like you. But that's today what happens. You have a group of like lunatics sitting somewhere in California, right? And they decide to everybody what's right and what's wrong. Really, who died and made you king? I got a mind of my own. I don't tell you what to do. You don't tell me what to do. But we don't want. I mean, we say that we have freedom, but we don't have freedom. We don't have freedom. So you should really know that the whole concept or idea behind freedom is the freedom of the mind, that the way you're free to think whatever you want. When a person cannot express his opinions, this is the greater robbery that there is out there. When I am not allowed to say what I believe in, what's my opinion. You don't have to agree with me. You're entitled to your opinion, which is okay. But give me back that I'm entitled to my opinion. But if you don't tell me, if you say that today, you're going to get fired. But that's not freedom. That you're robbing me of my freedom by doing that. I mean, we forgot about the whole thing of like the First Amendment, which was a great thing. The whole American Constitution, the First Amendment is been thrown out. Today, you say something, you're fired. You can look at somebody the wrong way, you get fired. So there is what is called Ma'amar HaCherut. The Baal HaSulam wrote in Ma'amar HaCherut. He calls those people Rotzchei Nefashot, murderers of the soul. Those people who don't allow other people to express or to say what they believe in. Again, so you basically killing people. You're making people from free people into zombies. Because every soul, every person has its own opinion and its own unique opinion. And why is that? Because God has created us like this. So you see, ultimately, in a very secular world, there's also very little freedom. Because if you believe that God created everybody equally different, I need to respect the other person because he's just like me, a creation of God. And we celebrate God's greatness through the diversity. So when you are completely removing God out of the picture, you don't allow anybody to say anything, and you don't threaten him that you're going to put him in jail, you're going to fire him, we're going to sue him, blah, 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 the whole entire thing. And if you would realize that no other person will be like him, and everybody has his own message to bring about, to deliver to this world, I think the world is completely different. That's the contribution that person gives to creation, to nature, to the world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows exactly what's everybody's contribution. And if we need to be like him, we need to recognize that contribution as well. Once we understood that, right, it's already completely different. It's a whole different game to come into unity. The trick is to come into unity without losing your individuality. And that exists all over, and that, I'm sorry to tell you that, it exists also in the religious world, because the religious world does not live in a vacuum, and certain trends of society do linger into us, sometimes faster, sometimes slower, but that becomes the trend. And then we start labeling the people. And but when it happens to us, that's the worst thing can happen, because we should know better. We should know better. We should come and realize that every Jew, Ba'asher Hu, is my blood and soul, my flesh and blood. He is no different than me. But to that matter, any human being. Any human being. But even more so as a Jew, to one another. But we are so small and weak that we celebrate divide and conquer. That's our go-to method. By dividing people, put them into categories and not seeing that. Celebrate the individuality. Oh no, everybody got to do this. Everybody's got to wear this. Everybody got to say the same thing, and so on and so forth. What happening, for example, I don't want to shackle in davening. I don't want to go like this into davening. So what's the matter? I don't daven well? The funniest thing, if you ask a non-Jew, how do Jews daven, right? I say, take the book and just daven. So that's the way the Jews daven. Why? Because one started, everybody has to follow it. Why am not allowed my expression of who I am as a Jew within the boundaries of halacha? But the boundaries of halacha are so great. But when you don't allow me to express myself within the boundaries of halacha, guess what? I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave. So we need to remember. Therefore Chazal tells us, right? When you do that, you're ready for the Torah. So therefore, you have a lot to accomplish before even you start learning Torah in terms of changing your attitude. And when a person is zochet to the Torah, Chazal tells us that he needs to really be mafkir yourself. You have to make yourself, accessible to all. In other words, you are kind of dismantling your own entity, but not dismantling for the sake of dismantling, not to exist, like many other faiths do that when the person does not, you are nothing. But a person, first of all, needs to know for whom is he dismantling himself? For whom and why? So you're not doing it because you are nothing. You're doing it because God is everything. You're doing it for the sake of God. And then you try to align to reach a level that you'll do that what you want is exactly what God wanted you to do. And that's why you need to ask yourself. Of course, we don't want to do that because God forbid we would let go of something that we were told to do and so on and so on. But does God really want me to do this or the other one? Here's your litmus test to know if what you're about to do is actually the right thing to do or not. Limtzo chen, to be like beinei Elokim, first by God, and then Adam. We have a reverse. Limtzo chen beinei Adam. Well, sometimes Elokim also, from time to time. So when there is an internal order and there is an external order, according to the laws of creation, then the sha'arei bracha, the gates of bracha, of blessing, of abundance, is open to all. The whole entire nature is changing for the good. Today we don't have it. Nature is going bad because the sha'arei bracha are being closed, because we are not doing the right thing, Jews and non-Jews alike. And when we do the right thing, we turn this world into a Garden of Eden. Garden of Eden was here on this earth, was not in the heavens. Ba'olam hazeh haya Gan Eden. And how do I know that? Because the Torah tells us that Gan Eden was where? Between Nahar HaGadol, between the Nile and here, this whole entire area. It gives us in this world. So if you do the right thing, it turns this world into a Gan Eden, into a Garden of Eden. And everybody is able to hear, if they want to, if they just let it, your whole internal voice, your voice of your neshama, to know what is exactly your duty in this life. What exactly you care for. That's what neshama tells you all the time. We create a lot of noise, a lot of chatter, not to hear it, but it's always there. It's never down. It's always there. You're just making a lot of noise around. So again, freedom is not what we think it is, that everybody can do what they want. because maybe it will be freedom of the body, but it's quite doubtful if it's true spiritual freedom. That the body do a mitzvah, right? That's something, it's important. But you also make sure that you need to shed light on your neshama, and that light on the neshama will be changeable. First of all, changing your attitude of why are you doing the mitzvah, not because you have to, as I told you many times, but rather because you want to do it. I want to do it. That I want to do the mitzvah, brings about, stokes the fire of the coals of the fire, and actually makes the fire inside of me more intense. And that will be by making yourself into a desert. More of what I need to do, what I want to do in terms of the will of Hashem, not what I want to do because society tells me to do so. Then we can turn this world into a worth living, and our life worth calling life. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.